Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Ayeni Princess. And although we'll be doing things a little bit different today, this is a live call, but this session promises to be interesting, educating, and entertaining as you know the other episodes that you've seen. I have with me on the call today Joy Temilade Adewoye, also known as JTA, who is a business thought leader, an entrepreneur. If I start reading her bio, I will not leave here today, but I'm just going to do like just run through it quickly. She's a business thought leader. JTA is an entrepreneur. She is the business manager at DIY African, which is a metal fabrication company where you can get home goods such as planters, TV consoles, side tables, chairs, and the likes. She's also the lead volunteer at the Business Clan Africa, um, that is a community and hub for business leaders and entrepreneurs where they come together to learn, grow, and network. Joy Temilade Adewoyi, as I popularly call her, as I always call her JTA, is so passionate about business owners and entrepreneurs, and she has trained over 2,000 entrepreneurs on how to start their business, grow their business, and as well as scale their business. And today we'll be talking about all things innovation. What does innovation mean for a small business? And how to innovate on a small, tight budget, and every other thing that involves innovation. So, Joy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Princess, for bringing me live. I'm grateful, and thank you also for the introduction. It got me smiling, and it just makes me feel good. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy we are doing this finally.
Of course, and yes, let's just leave all the stories behind.
Okay, so this is how we're going to structure today's session. We are first going to talk briefly about your entrepreneurial journey, how you got started, and then we'll look at the common mistakes you see entrepreneurs make, in business, and then we'll now go into the core topic of today, which is innovation in business. So, are you ready to have that conversation?
Of course, I am. I
All
am.
right. So
Yeah.
you have the floor.
All right. How did I start? How did I launch into business? How did I come across entrepreneurship? The year was 2013. I hope that I'm audible enough. So the year
Yes, you are.
was 2013, and I usually would say officially 2014 as a 100 level student. And I was faced with the challenge of raising funds for my school. And so it just happened that people around me started to talk about, why don't you sell this? I remember there was a core member then that I was connected with, and then she was like, I'm in this multi-level marketing thing, and even though you cannot afford to create an account, I think that you can sell some of my products. And so that was how I started. And truthfully, it was just like, I need money to buy this. Let me just try and find somebody to buy what I'm selling, and so I can have money to do this. But I just fell in love with the idea of, I have a stock of products and it's sold out. And so I just began to think through the process of production or product procurement, and then selling goods, selling out, restocking, and also the level of satisfaction and fulfillment, it brought when people bought my products, and they would give positive feedback, about how they
Mm,
enjoyed, or how this is bringing like solutions to their pain points or their challenges. So it brought purpose into what I was doing, since this was not just even so providing solutions to my own immediate challenge as at that point. Now let's talk about some of the challenges, or the mistakes rather, that business owners face. So I'll answer this from a personal perspective or standpoint, to say
right.
also that, for example, in my 10, 11 years of entrepreneurship, these are some of the early mistakes I made. So when I began to transition from just buying and selling products to actually, beginning to create ideas or leverage ideas to build a new business, or a startup, some of my early challenges, or sorry, early mistakes were focusing on the product, right? So, for
Mm,
example, say I started, let me say, this business today, selling drugs, and I just am focused on the products. I know about the benefits of the products, the chemical, and the technique behind the product, and etc. etc. But then I do not learn about my customers and the market. So I have
Mm.
products, the amazing product, but there's no connection with the customers, and so I'm not making sales. But yes, I have amazing ideas. And some of the things that I also did as a heli, or a new founder or a new entrepreneur, was that I was great on the picture or the idea I wanted to have about my business. So I would go and brand, I would go and, do all the necessary things, and then the business is just standing and waiting for customers. So yeah, that's one of them. Some of the other
Mm.
challenges that I faced also was knowledge capacity. So as I then there was a time as a student actually where I had this small business called at Frasers and Co. And I used to consult for MSMEs, between Ilorin, Ibadan, and Lagos. And I used to
Okay.
write business plans for them, consult on their ideas. I'm just a great starter naturally, so it also aids, my ability to do that. And one of the challenges I had then was the limitation in my knowledge. So even though I was great at writing their business model, when it came to business planning, because I didn't have knowledge on finance, then I
Mm.
couldn't develop financial plans or even analyze, the content of financial plans. It was difficult for me to always write the financial plan aspect of the business plan. So it was like when I get to the financial plan part and I'm like, I get stuck and I'm like, what do we do? Where do we go from here?
Where do we go from
So
here?
knowledge capacity also was a restraint, and I didn't quickly pick up on that for me to either leverage someone else's capacity or actually learn through financial planning. I think I should stop from there and then let's leave it from there.
Okay, thank you so much. I mean, I can relate to the things I said because a long time ago, okay, not that long ago, I owned
Mm.
a business. Anyways, thank you for sharing some of the mistakes that you made with us. I'm sure that other people too can also, relate with some of the things that you shared, especially that part that you focus on your product. You think because you have a great product, an amazing product, I mean, your problem is over, everything is solved. But most in most cases, that's not the situation. You have a good product and you're not making sales. That's what usually results to at the end. Thank you so much for sharing that. So let's talk about innovation. Now first, I want you to tell us what innovation mean or should mean for a small business.
When I think of innovation in business, the first thing that comes to my mind is Genesis chapter 1. Right?
Okay.
So I shared my story of early business days, and also, the journey goes forward to when I was building future food, and I was experiencing some of the challenges again of a early stage entrepreneur. I had improved in knowledge and capacity, but one day I sat down to brood and I thought about what I could do, to change the experiences of future food as I then, and the inspiration came from Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. Can I go ahead to share?
Of course, we are believers.
All right. So everything I see around innovation today literally spurs from the experience or the beauty of what happened in Genesis chapter 1. Okay, so if you read verse 1 as you listen or watch this podcast right now, you would verse 1 says that in the beginning, when God
Mhm.
created the world was without form and it was void. It was dark, right? Also, and the waters were raging. So imagine in your heart, right, that the world is not a circle, it's not a ball right now. It's without form, which means that it could be like a trapezium, an amoeba, and then it was completely dark and then it was filled with water. So now in your imagination, right, you have a complete picture. Now, the Bible says that in the beginning God created the world and it was that way. So that wasn't even God's first creation of the world. The first
Mm.
world was that way, without form and void, was dark, and the waters were raging. And then it goes forward to say, and then God, the Spirit of God, brood over the waters. Am I correct? Right? So innovation for me starts with creating. And then innovation for me also goes beyond just creating things. Also, it goes into brooding, being in what you've created. So
mm,
there are two major things that I want to say today about innovation. The first thing is that innovation doesn't start immediately. Sometimes when you want to build something, innovation doesn't start from the beginning. Okay, so God
mm,
had created those things, and the world we live in today wasn't what God created at first. Bible says that he looked at what was going on. It was without form and void, and he had to take time to brood, to study, to see, right, before he
mm,
made the
mm,
first statement to say, "Let there be light." Okay, so there are different things you would gain from what I'm saying. It's going to speak to you in different ways based on your experiences, and even maybe based on your purpose and the type of business and the stage or current point at which you are building your business today. So God says, "Let there be light." At that point, ideas came into play, right? At that point, there was light, and into what he had
mm,
built, there was light into the darkness, right? And so it was obvious it was let's say that you can now see everything in play. So for example, let me say future food is currently without form and void. It is dark and there are raging waters. Oh, what is without form is without structure, right?
mm,
There is a body
mm,
of water, everything is without structure. There is no light because I don't really know what I'm doing. I cannot
mm,
really see the efforts, and the results of maybe some of the efforts I'm putting together. Are you with me? There is no
yeah.
substance, right? There is raging water. Everything is just all, mashed up together. And so I brood. I take time out to think, to meditate, to brood, to ideate on what I have. Now, what I have, or the process of brooding, comes with knowledge of what is existing. So this speaks to
Mm,
two people. It speaks to the current business owner who has a business and is just a typical business that is not doing so much in terms of traction. It also speaks to somebody who is trying to start a business in a new industry. So before you say let there be light, right? You have to think or brood or ideate based on knowledge of the existing industry, knowledge of your existing business. That's why I said it is unto you according to wherever you are,
mm,
or whatever part of this frame that you're currently hanging on, right? So God says let there be light, and there was light, right? And then he left it, and it's good. And then the next day he says let us separate water, right? So the first thing is light, the idea, it comes into play, right? And this idea is something that disrupts or is something that improves on what is existing. Are you with me? So
mm,
the light now makes the world it's still without form and void, but there is light. You can see the waters, right? You can see the possibility of what can change, right? So you are ideating, you have to brood, you have to, ideate based on knowledge. These are the processes that you have to go through to innovate.
mm,
Okay, so you are innovating based on existing knowledge, you are innovating, based on your capacity as a human being to actually create and bring things into the world. So the next day, God says, okay, let us separate the waters up and the waters below, right? And I think it was the firmament that was created. Let us make a dome to separate it and call it the sky. Okay. And so it began to do what? It began to bring structure. So
mm,
ideation, right? Development, and then structure, which is the way business goes today. If you have a marketable idea today, you have to execute it. And then when you execute and you begin to see, you are also able to say, oh, this is good. Like God was saying, okay, this looks good. Let's move to the next day, next thing, or the next day. Then you begin to structure. Okay, so the next day, then it says, okay, let us